March 11th. We'll make note that Jim Brown's absence is excused for today's meeting. Next item on the agenda is approval, additions, or corrections to the Personnel Committee meeting held February 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve that. I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Personnel Committee meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Did everyone receive the corrected minutes for the meeting on February 11th for the regular commission meeting?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Are there any additional additions or corrections to the minutes? Is there a motion?
I'll move that placing on file.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Did everyone receive the corrected minutes for the special commission meeting held March 5th?
Yes.
Okay. Any additional corrections or changes?
I move that the minutes be approved as amended.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have one quote to look at for Dale's summer inventory. And Dale can explain that for you if you have any questions.
We went out to 3 vendors again for a water supply for construction season. They were HD Waterworks, Ferguson, and First Supply. And upon receiving the quotes back, HD sent us a notice that they would no longer bid on our stuff any longer. So they obviously didn't put nothing in it. Ferguson was a little bit at 165,000, and First Supply was 194,837. So I would recommend that we go with the Ferguson Waterworks for the 165.
Could I ask why the other company would no longer want to bid on
They
it?
never really gave any reason why. They just said they weren't going to bid on any of our stuff going forward. So I assume that means for next year, but next year I'll try again and give an opportunity regardless. So
Have we refused them in the past?
we used them in the past. Matter of fact, I think it was like in 2010 or 2011, they actually got the bid for that year. And looking back, there was other years where they were really close with them, like one was $500, one was $350. So they were close in a couple of years running. Then later on, the distance got larger, and Ferguson always usually got them. So I don't know if that's something that triggered, I have no idea. But
Is there any distinction in the quality between the two?
no, they all use basically the same pipe vendors and everything else, so it's just, sometimes the fittings are really close, but then you make up the difference, they can give a bigger discount on, for sale, like the pipe, they can give a bigger discount on that. So that's why you see the discount varies between vendor and vendor. It depends on how much they want to give us for a discount.
I know we had some of these situations at the mill where the quality of the pipe was not, the low bidder wasn't necessarily the
We spec it
product.
out, we spec it out for, we'll take the example pipe, 52 pipe, ductile, stuff. So we have our specs set year to year, that's the same. So.
I move that we approve the purchase as recommended by Dale.
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the quote for the water supply inventory items with Ferguson. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Dale. Safety Committee meeting for March 4th.
I have a question for Sean.
Yes.
Hepatitis B. And this is new to me, and I was wondering, why are we inoculated for hepatitis B? What employees would have to?
It's any employees that are certified through CPR, AED, first aid, because of the potential exposure, because of being trained for that. They are volunteer. It's a volunteer basis. They can get the Hep B vaccine.
Okay.
That's all covered. So we recommend that people actually do get it as a 3-part series. Just protects against hepatitis B, but recently found out that even if you don't get it, if you have an exposure event, you can go in and start the series, and it's just as effective. So
What about hepatitis C?
there is no vaccine for hepatitis C, unfortunately.
That's what?
There is no vaccine for hepatitis C.
There isn't, okay.
No, just hepatitis B.
There's a treatment for it, but it costs like $87,000 a year. So,
It's a little high.
just a little.
Any other questions or comments for Dale or Sean? Okay, the line superintendent report. Would you be able to provide us an update with the status of the projects going on since the report came out, Jason?
As far as what we're doing,
Right, like the 3-phase on 20th Street, and also Airport Avenue.
yes, 3-phase switch on 20th is so we can break up the load off another circuit and then divide it up evenly. They actually started on that this week. It's 3-phase gang operated switch, they call it, so we can do all 3 at once instead of all individual. It's safer, it's faster. You don't single phase anybody that way. And if I'm right, that's to break up the mold.
Right. And what we're doing there is on our Spring Street feeder, it branched off into the area that normally is part of what we call the Apple Street feeder. And so what we're trying to do is kind of block areas so that one breaker is feeding that particular area. It makes it a lot more or less confusing when we have an outage. And then by doing what we're doing here, the main feed that goes into the Buren area that we call the Spring Street feeder doesn't have anything that branches off of it till it gets to the Buren area. So we're kind of looking at our one lines and saying, well, what makes sense here to make some of these changes. So that's one of them. Yeah.
Good, thank you. How long would you expect that project to last?
That is not a long project. You're talking about 2-3 days. And then what we're going to be doing when we install that new switch is then we're going to actually also be removing an older switch that is in that area too. It's part of the same work order. So no more than a week.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the line superintendent's report?
I've got one. It kind of came from the accounts receivable. Is there a difference between squirrel guard and the squirrel cages?
Probably not. It's probably the same exact item, which is that plastic cover, but we are in the process of buying some other items for squirrel protection, like larger enclosures for bushings and things, but I think it's the same thing that we're talking at this
I
time.
know there was a drastic difference in cost.
Well, it's probably a quantity thing, so,
Okay.
we buy, 4 crates, but it probably, and then there's just one cost associated with it, so that's probably what you're seeing. It's that one is a lot less of a quantity, and then we order a larger quantity.
It actually said something like cables.
There was something purchased this month too for the
Squirrel cables.
Squirrel cable, which is just a insulated overhead.
Yeah, what we're doing too, in addition to putting this guard on the bushing to lengthen the distance between the phase and the ground, is in some places we're actually using an insulated cable from the top of that arrestor or bushing to where it attaches to the actual 3-phase line, and that's giving us an additional protection from a squirrel. So that's probably the cable that you saw.
when he gives me that thing, I can write down enough.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Water Department report. Dale, have you had any more water breaks since the report?
No, been quiet.
Any other questions or comments for Dale? Office manager report.
I see we have 90-day arrears increased this particular month. Any driver for that?
Not really. I mean, the total's still down. The 30 to 60-day mark it's got small improvement as well. I just think it's just one of those things.
Deferred payment agreement.
Yes.
With that Act 274, wouldn't that just put like a law in effect? As far as you don't have to do an agreement with a former ratepayer? That you have to, it looks like every particular utility has to go ahead and work on the deferred payment agreement?
That's one of the requirements of the Public Service Commission code, yes. If a customer is disconnected, you're required to offer them a reasonable DPA, deferred payment agreement. Act 274 changed that in respect to tenants. For a property owner, will still be required to offer that deferred payment agreement. But for a tenant, what we petition the PSC to do is if they have broken a deferred payment agreement in the preceding 12 months, they won't get another one.
Can you repeat that, Joe? I can't hear you.
We petition the PSC to allow us to deny a tenant a deferred payment agreement. Prior to that, that was a requirement. So if they've broken one in the preceding 12 months, they will not get another one. It'll require a hearing as I detailed in my report, so.
But they would normally get one if they have not defaulted on.
If they have not defaulted, yes, they'll get another one. It's only if they've broken one in the preceding 12 months.
And it looks like your trip and the SDCI has really worked well in the last 2 months.
It has, and STC, it used to be the trip was by far more effective.
Yeah.
STC was it's a more recent program. But those numbers have flipped and we're seeing higher collection numbers from state debt collection rather than trip. So.
Great. Thanks.
I just need to pass on, Joe, I was talking to John this last week and he commented on the website. He really enjoys using the website. Thought you guys did a good job of that, so just to pass that on.
Good to hear, thanks.
Any other questions or comments for Joel? Director of Finance report.
Jeff, you attributed the loss at the beginning of the year to, I don't know, maybe we talked about this, that you were accrued for vacation all in the first month?
That was
All vacation for the whole year?
That was one of the policy changes we had in 14 was starting in January, we're going to a calendar year based vacation accrual as opposed to an anniversary date accrual. So yeah, January 1st, everybody got their allotment of vacation at that point, and then the liability followed along with that. So that's, so for comparisons for the first couple of months, it's going to be not a fair comparison. Looking at 2014 compared to 2015, but I'll try to in my reports in the next couple months, kind of break out what those numbers would have been.
Yeah, that's kind of a big hit.
It is. I mean, it's, like I mentioned, it's about $140,000 a year, which, last year you had saw $12,000 a month,
Yeah,
which the total would have came up to the same amount. You just seen it all in 1 month this time. We did consider kind of decoupling the liability from the actual hours worked, but then our fear was you were going to lose that ability to reconcile the two on a monthly basis like we do now, that you wouldn't really have a true basis to reconcile that. So that's why we went with that full liability in January. That was the recommendation of our software provider too.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure. Any other questions or comments for Jeff?
John?
Yes, Rick.
Could I just bring up, wasn't able to make the meeting last month, but in the information had, in the finance area, there was $3 million parked at Wood Trust for like 0.02%, so I didn't understand what the parameters were around that are you obligated to do that, or just because there's other avenues for greater return than that?
We are held by the investing policy of the city, so we're limited to what we can invest in. That's where we put a lot of our monthly payments that go in and monthly payments that come out. That's probably about half of our electric depreciation fund. If you take a look at our investment report in our packet, that's roughly $3 million out of the $9 million that we have is at Wood Trust. And based on the things that we can invest in, there's really no great return on any of those. So
that's based on city policy? Where does that come from?
I can't speak, so I really don't know.
Okay.
I mean, we do some investing in CDs. We can only go out 3 years. We can only go, to the FDIC maximum $250,000 per institution. We do those through our brokerage account with Smith Barney, and we do have several million with them too.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Information systems report. Are you making headway with storeroom barcoding and NISC programs?
Yeah, we're starting to move forward. Eke forward is more like it. We're just kind of crawling right now.
Okay.
Trying to push them to get things moving, and started to pick up over last week.
Okay, good. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Conservation Manager report.
Can you comment at all on some of the actual savings that are occurring within these organizations?
You're
focus on energy.
As far as the packages that are being offered, when I met with one of the commercial trade allies, the packages that they're offering is they classify them as a silver package, gold package. They'll give the commercial customer a free energy audit to help them with their load, how they can save. To give you an example, the silver package is, I believe, $75. And for that cost, they will they'll replace all their CFL lighting free of charge. Doesn't matter how many particular units they have. They'll also replace 10 LED lighting fixtures. They'll give out water aerators. Then they can move on to another package, which is approximately $175, and those numbers will double. So those packages, are being offered, let alone they will find the commercial customer ways to decrease that load demand as well.
always tells us that, if we spend $100,000, the utility to focus on energy, that our customers are getting like $160,000 back. Give me 20,000 to one way or the other. So when you go to one of your trade allies, they pretty much, it's up to our customer whether they want to go engage in a package or not. You can do whatever you can with time of day, metering, or whatever else you can offer them. But if they want to go further, it's pretty much a contract between the trade ally and a customer.
Correct, and that's where, like I explained in the report, I'm finding it important to me not only to reach out to the trade allies so I know who they're talking to, keep up with the programs, and I'm trying to incorporate that in when I contact the businesses, the commercial customers, like through the Lost Sense project. When we contact them after we've received results, this gives me the opportunity to talk about these programs that Focus on Energy is offering. So they go hand in hand. It also lets me talk about time of day or any other questions that they may have about their billing.
But you don't get any specifics back from the customer of how much they've actually saved in a month or whatever?
I do not on some of the larger industrial. I have spoken with some Focus on Energy representatives that have given me certain dollar amounts that have saved, but we don't get an actual report, no, just that annual one. So on the commercial side of things, no. What the commercial customer does usually is they're contacting Focus on Energy, and the trade ally does not give me those reports of how much they saved or what packages they bought.
Any other questions or comments for Sean? Director of Engineering and Electric Operations report.
A question that goes back to the initial publication where the legislature is considering Buy American legislation. Will that have any impact on our purchases? Would it restrict us in any way from what we buy?
I already try my best to buy American, and when we have quotes, I typically, if the bids are close and one product is made in America versus another not made in America, I'll typically recommend the one made in America. So I actually was kind of excited about the legislation, but I'm not aware that it would actually affect us.
So you've never come across anything where you could only buy, let's say, something from Mexico rather than it's not when you find it here?
When you're buying like the breakers and the reclosers, there's computer equipment that is part of the package, and the circuit boards and such are usually from China. There's no way of getting around it, but it's manufactured almost always in the United States. It's just that certain components are not from the United States. But one nice thing about the power industry is most of the products are still made in the United States. So
I think that's something we should look at carefully and how that's worded. And even in the case of like your pipe, where is it actually coming from? Ferguson is supplying it, but where are they getting it? There's a very good chance that it's India or China or wherever. So I think, we should actually look at the supply chain and make sure that, if we get something hard and fast here, it's not going to saddle you with huge costs.
yeah, I totally agree.
Would that be a greater than 50%, like if it's maybe purchased outside but assembled here? And I'm thinking of cement. I don't think we have cement in it, but I know Mexico is probably the biggest producer of cement. We need concrete, it's probably cement from Mexico.
Right.
So I would take it, there's got to be some kind of clause with
Right, yeah, I read that same, article that we had in here, but I don't think we're at a point where they haven't really differentiated yet where they're gonna draw a line, so I think it's more in discussion at the moment.
But I think we should follow it pretty closely and also look to see where our risks would be so that we blow the horn if, so the wording is correct.
Okay.
Speaking of wording, I read that, and the word that jumped out at me is they were contemplating. That doesn't mean it's cut in stone yet, so.
Yeah, but it's already an AB, so it's in discussion. There's another one of those items that actually probably, Jeff, that fits your areas. They're talking about, if I understand correctly, eliminating government-sponsored property insurance.
They are.
And what impact will that have on it?
There's been some different studies that the LGIPF put out over the last couple of years, and they estimate that insurance would approximately go up 20% if that did go through. Now, our building and property insurance is only, I shouldn't say only, but is about $18,000 to $20,000 a year, roughly, so that increase isn't as big as some of our other insurance amounts that we do pay. So we're watching that closely. There's a conference they're putting on next month that I'll be attending, and they'll give us more information there.
Todd, I would like to thank you for applying for and filling out that RP3 report. Hopefully, every time you reapply, it goes a little bit easier, and we've done a really outstanding job as far as accomplishing and getting the award to a platinum. So, thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when we got the 97.5 score out of 100, so that was definitely a win-win for us.
It's a win-win for our customers that are depending on continuous power.
Yeah, good job, Tom.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Todd? General manager report. As you know, Jim isn't here, but if you do have any questions, maybe someone from staff can answer them.
I brought this up to Paul in the manager's report there about McCuskey Tree Service. And I guess that according to Paul, it was the tree, they were just talking to us.
Correct.
About possibly.
Yeah, they're a company that started out in Medford, and they're slowly working their way into the municipality business, and they currently serve approximately 8 municipalities in the state. And so I think Jim found out about him when he was at the Wisconsin Dells MEUW seminar last month. So they introduced themselves and they came here, and Paul and Jim and I met with them, and we went over what we have for tree trimming and what we do now, and then they were going to put us a price together just to see what their costs were. But we pretty much told them straight out that Davies has been doing the tree trimming here for a number of years, and we've been very satisfied with them. So it would be a hard sell to go with them. So they're going to still see what they can do.
Yeah, they got to come up with the employees too. The Davies have been real good about when there's trouble.
Yeah, and
they're there.
The Davies, the 2 people that we have are local, and that's important. And now they know our system as well. So they're almost like an additional crew to us. And with our outages dropping every year like they have been, it shows that part of that is because of the tree trimming that we've been doing. So,
but this is nothing that you, Paul, and Jim brought up. That's McCuskey that brought it up.
Correct, yeah, they're the ones that approached us and wanted to know, if we would have any interest. And we're always looking in to see, is there a better price out there, or just making Davies be aware that, they have to compete with the competitors, so, which is never a bad thing.
Thanks, Todd.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, review accounts payable.
This pole purchase, this is normal? Looks like,
Probably not to this extent, but I mean, there was too large. The one was for 130 poles, that 56,000
Yeah.
that we purchased.
What we've been doing more of is looking at our projects for the entire year, and when we have major items like this, been trying to just purchase all of them in January so they're all on hand. And so in this year, we're looking at both redoing the pepper feeder and the rural feeder, and we figured it would be about 100 poles. And so in addition to the 30 that we would normally do to replenish our inventory, we purchased the 100 for those projects right away. We can get much better pricing, and then they're here, and we're not waiting for them if there would be a long delivery at some point. And we have the room in the yard to keep them, so it just makes sense.
Is that South Beer Drive gonna take more poles?
Well, what we're going to do on South Bearden Drive, this is where they're adding the bike path, and they're asking us to shift about 12 poles over, is we'll have to put 12 new poles in place, shift the lines to those poles, but the poles that are already there are in pretty good shape, so then we'll just pull those poles and then reuse them. Yeah, so there really isn't there won't be really new poles.
Yeah.
Or, they're not taking any from inventory, we're adding and taking back,
Todd, are there any discounts when you buy it all at once?
Yeah, and Roxy, or Roxanne, who's our storeroom clerk, she actually goes out for pricing, and then they give quantity discounts, and so that's why we did what we did.
Okay.
Any other questions? Tom? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Mike?
No.
Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, is there a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Okay, Mike? Joe? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.